One further thing, if
Yes.
I may. If then, I mean, I know generally speaking, if, say, I have an emotional reaction.
All right, I have an emotional reaction.
To what someone, say, does or says to me.
Yes.
And like you said, of the process of just pausing.
Yes.
And just kind of saying, okay, I recognize that perhaps what just happened has nothing to do with me. Something along the lines of what you said, that if...
It may not.
It may not. But yet...
But your reaction has everything to do with you.
Right.
So examine whether or not your reaction is what you prefer. This is not about suppressing emotions. This is about acknowledging what they are for what they are.
So sometimes then part of that process is just allowing the feelings to come up.
Absolutely, you must allow them. If you don't allow them, you can't work with them. You can't own them. You can't change them.
I guess I started thinking that the reason I was having an emotional reaction
Yes.
was that I had a belief that
Yes.
this person or situation, there's no shoulds, but if you excuse my should in that
All right, I will excuse your shoulds.
that I must have a belief that this person or people should not treat other people in that way. And I think that that's what was causing my reaction. So now in our dialogue today, I was thinking about that.
All right.
That is that why I'm having the emotional reaction, since you say that a lot of times we have the emotional reaction because we have a belief about it.
Well, in other words, the belief might be more appropriately phrased that you feel that the way they are behaving is in some sense devaluing you.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So you have a belief in the possibility of being devalued.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wouldn't react to it. Because you see, all emotion comes from belief. If you don't have a belief about something, you don't actually have an emotional reaction to it at all. If you understood that they said something that had absolutely nothing to do with you, there would be no reaction. There would just be an observation of what they're doing. And you might recognize through a neutral observation that they are behaving in a negative way and so on and so forth, but you wouldn't have an emotional reaction to it in that sense. The only reason you would have an emotional reaction is if you are taking it personally, and that means you have a belief that something about what they're saying is actually true about you, or might be true about you, and you might be afraid that it is true, and so you have an emotional reaction to it in that sense on a negative side.
I see. Otherwise, I would not be having an emotional reaction.
No, because why would you if what they said had nothing to do with you?
I guess that's where I'm in the process, Bashar, is that in my thoughts,
Yes.
I recognize that, I mean, I'll even stop and say, well, maybe they're just having a bad hair day, okay?
Well, that's fine. It's all well and good to understand that it's not necessarily personal in that context,
Yes.
and to recognize that they may be going through their own process, which
Yes.
is usually the case.
Or their own pain. Or,
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And you can use that understanding and that perspective to also give yourself a moment of pause to recognize that it really fundamentally may have nothing to do with you.
Yes.
At the same time, without a negative emotional reaction, you can always listen to what somebody is saying and decide whether or not it's advice that can be incorporated into your own understanding of yourself, or whether it really does have nothing to do with you.
Okay. But if the emotion still comes up, like you said at the beginning,
Then you are continuing to choose to believe the same thing.
I guess that's where I'm a little bit not unclear, because
Yes.
I'm looking at that and going, the sadness that sometimes brings me, it doesn't feel good, and I would like, I'm conscious of wanting to
Yes.
change that.
All right. But the idea is that if you keep choosing the same reaction, then you probably haven't yet really gotten to the core belief underlying it. You may have gotten to one belief, but you may have not gotten to all the beliefs that underlie that. So you need to keep digging to find out what other more fundamental beliefs might have been imprinted within you that would be still causing you to choose the same reaction to the situation, even after you say you recognize you don't need to. But if you keep doing it, then it's possible you have not really found the core definition that is defining your emotional reaction. So keep looking.
I see.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. And until then, it's just a practice, or these situations
Yes.
are gifts for me to...
Absolutely. You see, that's the whole point about why I said it's not about, well, I've changed, why am I still seeing the same kind of people in my life,
Right.
acting the same way?
That's right.
You constantly give yourself an opportunity to actually find out whether you really have changed or not.
That's right.
Because that's the way Earth is. So the point is, again, not what's happening on the outside, but how you respond differently to it, even if it looks the same. That's when you know you have changed, and that's when you know you are really on your way to mastery.
And there's really no perfect kind of goal, Bashar, that as humans that we're never not going to have a reaction to things. I mean, sometimes...
You will always have a response. It won't always be negative. In that sense, you can get to a place where you simply don't have negative responses. You simply see everything as an opportunity, as a challenge, as something exciting, as something unexpected, as something new, as a gift. And you never look at it as an obstacle, an impediment, an intrusion, or something that doesn't belong there. Never. You don't have to look at it that way. No. You can arrive at a place where you don't look at it that way anymore.
Where it's more neutral.
Where, in that sense, it's neutral and then it's positive because you choose it to be positive. Even if you can't understand how it might be positive at the moment, you choose to believe that it is, so that in choosing to believe that it is, you will ultimately get the effect that it is in your life, no matter what anyone else's intention is in the interaction. Someone can have a negative intent toward you, but if you understand that you've attracted them into your life in order for you to get a positive effect out of it, then you will only get a positive effect, no matter what their intention is.
I see.
Do you understand?
Yes.
It's what you put into it that determines what you get out of it.
I see.
And just because you may continue to attract those kind of people in your life doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you're on planet Earth for now. Does that help?
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bashar.
You're welcome. Any other questions in the brief time remaining for this transmission? All right.